Hey, I'm Wesley Donehue, and I am a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
You are listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Welcome back. Today, I've got a treat for you, friends. Got Mr. Wesley Donehue. He is a personal friend. He is an inspiration. Guy does 100-mile races, eats triathlons for breakfast, and he's a fun guy to speak to. He's a podcast host of the show Under Fire, and I believe his book is the same name too, Under Fire. Let's jump in with Mr. Donehue. Wesley, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
Yeah, man, let's do this.
All right. So normally what we do is start off with a quick win for our listeners. And the question is, what book have you given most as a gift? Now, I know you have a new book coming out, so you'll be giving that book as a gift a lot. So just tell us a couple lines about the new book coming out.
My book is Under Fire, 13 Rules to Survive Cancel Culture and Other Crises. It's a public relations book, given that cancel culture is taking down a lot of corporations, but also a lot of small business people, just normal people. So I wanted to write a book teaching people how to survive when the mob comes for them.
I see the pitchforks and torches already. All right, let's go into a story. Tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
I've always joked, we're here to talk about my book. I've always said that my second book was going to be titled something like Don't Be Like Me, all the business mistakes a person could possibly make. Because I think people write all these business books that are like, be like me, look at all the great things I've done and how I've crushed life. But most entrepreneurs know that that's not how the game works at all. And I could just sit here all day and just talk about, traps I've fallen in. I think the book here, I talk a lot about SeaWorld. We actually lost SeaWorld after 6 years of working with them. And I built my company all around SeaWorld. An activist investor came in, fired the CEO, fired the entire C-suite, anybody that was connected to the CEO. And we were very close to the CEO. In fact, he put a blurb on the back of this book saying that we saved SeaWorld. Despite all that work, we lost SeaWorld as a client. We had 50 staff. About 30 of them were working on SeaWorld. So I think the biggest mistake I've ever made in business was putting all of my eggs in one basket or very few baskets. And it was devastating to the company when we lost SeaWorld. Fortunately, I put together a plan, never had to fire anyone, built back the clientele, built back the roster over about 6 months. But it was hard. It was a lot of sleepless nights, man.
What did you learn during that experience?
Chapter 1 of my book talks a lot about people that survive crisis are mentally strong people. The people that fail are mentally weak people. And there's a lot in my background that I think has made me mentally strong, but that circumstance in particular really firmed up, I think, that mental fortitude. It's those long days at the office, stressed about having to lay off a bunch of people, a lot of sleepless nights. I really learned how to operate in the fog of uncertainty and stress.
What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you've ever made?
Oh, my people, by far, man. My team is humming. I was telling someone earlier today that I felt like I didn't have a lot to do today because my team is just so streamlined now. And I've taken a lot of entrepreneurs when they make money, go out and buy yachts and Lambos and second, third homes. Instead, I piled money back into my business, specifically hiring really, really talented people. I found that most businesses are talent businesses, even if they don't recognize it. Investing into my people has been so in so many ways. Now they run the company without me. They bring in clients without me. They're the ones working long nights and on the weekends. And, I got 3 little boys and a wife. I like to stay at home. And now my senior people can travel around the country so I don't have to live in airports. I wish I would have done that earlier, man. It took me about 10 years to learn that lesson. But now that I've learned it, it's been life-changing.
Why did it take so long?
Because I, like many people, I'm a micromanager, or at least I was a micromanager. It's always been this, like, I can always do it better than anybody else kind of mentality. And eventually I learned I'm good, but I'm not that good. I'm not that smart. I'm not smarter than everybody else. And even if I do know more than others, I could bring on really, really smart people in just a few months, train them. And if I spend 30, 60 days really training someone, that's going to save me months or years on the back end. I just wanted to be involved in everything. And my company really started growing the minute I stepped out of everything and just trusted other people.
But how did you figure that out, man? Because I think that all of us as entrepreneurs, we build these things. They're our babies. We don't want to let go. How do you know that letting go is the way to grow? How do you figure that out?
Well, I saw a major competitor of mine grow into hundreds of people, and I was stuck at like 30, 40 people, and I didn't like it. What I learned was that the growth of the company was because of my limitations. Like, there's only so much time that I could go pitch and land a big client. There's only so many hours in a day that I could be on the phone with a US senator or a governor or a congressman. I can actually scale the company if I hire really smart people. But I was just stuck in this mentality of like, I have to be the person to go close that client. I have to be the person on the phone with the US senator. Also, I just gained a little bit of humility in thinking that, like, give an example of my life right now. My company is handling Herschel Walker for US Senate. It's the biggest US Senate race in the country. And it's Herschel Walker. I mean, like, I'm a fitness junkie. So like, this guy is the man, right? I don't touch that campaign. I don't talk to Herschel Walker. Right? Phil Evangelakis from my office, who's the managing partner, he's living pretty much in Atlanta full time. He's the one on the phone with Herschel Walker all the time. And in the beginning, I was jealous of my own staffer. But it just takes some humility to say, like, I need to focus on the company and let Phil go run this US Senate race.
Where's that humility come from?
Getting kicked in the nuts a lot of times, I think. I mean, it comes from pain, man. It just comes from, the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. And there's only so many downs until you start learning from those downs. So I think I just grew up a little bit of entrepreneurial maturity, if that's a thing.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
The humility, the ability to trust other people, taking myself out of the micromanaging. To be honest, the biggest change, and I don't know where this comes from. I think this is just age, maturity, having children. But in politics, I was known as quite the hothead. I was known as a knife fighter. I was known as this guy that just got hot and would gut you. And I think I've calmed down a lot. I've become a lot more meditative. And I think a lot of that has to do with becoming a dad. I think when you have 3 children that are always watching your every move and absorbing everything you say or do, changing your actions pretty quickly.
I know what you mean. And I only have one. It changes the game. All right, we're about to get into the results portion of the show. But before we do that, I got to ask you, have you shared the show? If you're digging what I'm laying down here, then I want to ask you to share this show with somebody who will find it helpful. Share it on your social medias. Use the hashtag ResultsLeaderFM, and I'll be looking for you out there. Thank you. All right, Wes, why do results matter?
For us, most of our clients are political campaigns, and we obviously have a lot of corporations also, which is what the book is based around. Clients don't hire us if we lose. It's all about winning. The 2 things that matter the most in business are wins and personal relationships. You get the business, I find, more because of the personal relationships than you do the wins.
How you make these personal connections. And for perspective, like, people think ads, or people think writing the book, and people think all these other things, but that is probably not it. Or maybe it is. I don't know. You're enlightening us.
No. Well, partly. Look, the book is so that I can define myself as the expert in digital crisis communications, and I could send that book to PR firms, to corporations, right? That might be a way to get in the door, to get a phone call, but we spend years creating what we call raving fans. There's a great book out there called Raving Fans, where we fly out to see people and spend time with them. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a great advantage because a lot of people want to come here. So we pay to fly people and their wives here, sending people gifts on their birthdays, anniversaries. A guy got engaged yesterday, and we sent him champagne glasses from Tiffany's. Those kind of things. It's about taking the time to acknowledge people and to just be a good human being. Getting in the door is the hard part. Building the relationship is the easy part because you just become friends with them.
Hey, man, when people ask me what I do, I say I just make friends. They don't get it, but I think you get it, right?
No, that is 90% of business. I mean, and it is frankly the hardest part. And you would think that making friends is easy. The 10% of doing the work for me is the fun part. It's really, really easy. But building the relationships to get the business is by far, I think, the hardest part of business.
Man, let's think back over the last 5 years. What new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I hate to say this, but my business is different than a lot of the businesses you probably associate with. And that's because we're in politics. For me, I have to operate in a political and a very, very divisive world. And it's a scary place where this country finds itself right now. And a lot of the book is about that, right? Because it's about cancel culture and about the divisiveness in America. But for me, I can't get the results for my clients unless I truly understand what's going on in this country. And you and I are recording this podcast about 3 hours after the Supreme Court handed down a Roe versus Wade decision. That's 3 days after it handed down a gun decision. This week alone, you see how absolutely divisive this country is. And for me, when I came to the realization of just how bad the state of this country is, that's when I really, really started winning more races, because I was still for a little while, even though I'm so good at my job, I was still in this place of like, America's great. We're always going to come together and compromise always wins the day. And everybody just wants what's best for the community. And that's just not the world we live in right now. I hope that one day we can go back to that, but that is not America in 2022. And to operate a business, to operate a political campaign, or for a corporation or a small business to survive in this cancel culture that we live in, they have to understand how divided this nation has become. So it sucks to say that, right?
No, I want to hear more about that, because you said that you came from a place of good intention, good heart, thinking that things were going to be good. What are they then? What are people trying to do? What's the actual motive out there? What's happening? Why are we so divided?
I think this is happening for numerous reasons, but the reason we're so divided, I firmly believe, is that the human brain isn't supposed to be connected to as many people as it is right now. I think the country's always been divided. I think that the internet and social media threw gas on the fire. I created one of the first political social media companies in the country 12 years ago, and I used to sit on these panels from Google or Facebook sponsored panels, and I would talk about how the internet's going to bring everybody together. We're going to share the world's knowledge and solve all the world's problems. And man, I could not have been more wrong. I thought we were going to create this utopia. But what's really happened is that every problem has become our problem. The human brain is supposed to have only a few hundred connections, the people in your family, the people in your community. And you focus on the problems in your family. You focus on the problems in your community. You focus on the problems that you can solve that are immediately in front of you. But because we're connected to everybody in the world, every problem has become our problem. And we become obsessed with problems that have no impact on us whatsoever. We just become obsessed with them. And we just start arguing and bickering over the dumbest shit that doesn't matter. And because there's a new problem every day, we find ourselves just bickering more and more and more. What are we going to bicker about today? Gas prices, inflation, guns, abortion? That's all just this week. The Ukraine, COVID. I mean, it's one problem after the other, after the other, after the other. The human brain isn't supposed to be able to focus on this many problems. The world has always had this many problems. It's just now every single problem has become our problem. Thus, we've become very divisive. And it's not just like Republicans versus Democrats anymore. This week, Eric Greitens, a guy running for U.S. Senate in Missouri, former governor, put out an ad. He's a former Navy SEAL, where he's holding a gun, busting through a door, saying he's going rhino hunting. He's hunting, literally, talking about killing people in his own party. So it's not even Republicans versus Democrats anymore. That's how divisive this country's become, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
What's the solution?
I don't think there's any going back. I think it's only going to get worse because the internet's only going to keep moving forward. You talk about Web3 and the metaverse. I know you dabble in crypto. I do too. And So I'm constantly paying attention to the innovations with blockchain and Web3. And as we move into the metaverse, we're going to be even more connected and living more in the internet. And I think we're going to be fighting even more. I don't think there's any going back at this point.
So what's the evolution then? What do we have to do? Because I'm with you on this, because I've seen it myself with people making every problem out there their problem. And I'm like, what are you even looking at that for? And so what do we have to change as humans to kind of, because we've pretty much given up our power then. The power is coming from outside.
I don't know. I joke about it. I say like a nuclear weapon dropped by Putin might bring us back together, and that's not funny, or everybody can start doing mushrooms and discover the love and compassion in the world. I don't know. I don't think everybody is going to suddenly become more compassionate and have more empathy for their neighbor. As Jesus Christ says, the second greatest commandment is to love thy neighbor. I don't see that happening anytime soon. And that puts this country and this world in a very scary place, which is one of the reasons I wrote this book, because I think it's not a matter of if the cancel culture mob comes for you. It's a matter of when it comes for you. And if it's not you, then it's going to be someone very close to you.
What do we do when the cancel culture mob comes to us or for us?
That's why you got to read the book, man. I lay out 13 rules in the book.
Give us a couple.
It starts in a place that's not even public relations related. The first whole chapter is about mental toughness. And I find, a lot of people would say this doesn't even belong. Talking about running marathons and taking cold ice plunges or meditating every day. What does that have to do with public relations? And I lay out other things you could do to become mentally tough. But what I have learned is that the people that succeed in a crisis every single time are the people that are mentally tough. And the people that falter are the people that are mentally weak. And there are ways, as David Goggins says in his book, Can't Hurt Me, to callous the brain. And I think actually that's why I'm so good at it, because I come from a very violent childhood, a very a welfare family, almost homeless. My dad in and out of prison for selling drugs. Both my parents dead because of drugs. I come from a very dramatic childhood. So I think that helps me in these dramatic situations because I grew up with it. In fact, peace and calm are kind of weird to me in a lot of ways. But that's all chapter 1's about. It's about developing mental toughness. And then chapter 2 is all about being prepared, whether that's having plans already in place or having a team in place. You call a lot like how you have car insurance. You're going to get in a wreck one day. Everybody's going to get in a wreck. It might be a fender bender. It might be a serious accident where you and your family get hurt. But at some point, you're going to get in an accident. So I lay out some public relations examples that's very much like car insurance. Or for my home, I have a fire plan. I have a tornado plan because tornadoes come through eventually. I got an earthquake plan because we're on a fault line. And I have a home invasion plan. And we practice those plans. My family and I practice those plans. We know exactly what's going to happen if a fire breaks out or if a tornado hits in our area. We know what we're going to do. And you have to have those same kind of plans, that same kind of preparation and practice when it comes to public relations.
What area of your business would you like better results?
My corporate side. My political side is humming right now. The whole purpose of the book is to get out there and get some more corporate work. We had SeaWorld. We lost that after about 5.5, 6 years. And I would like to pick up, 10 more SeaWorlds. I like the corporations to see that SeaWorld story. We've had a lot since then. We've worked with Kmart and Sears through their bankruptcy. We worked through the Home Shopping Network, the HSN, QVC merger. We've worked with a lot of corporations, but I would like more corporations to see the SeaWorld story, to see some other cancel culture stories that we've helped solve, as well as the political work we've done. And I would like to balance out my company portfolio to more half corporate, half political.
What results are you most proud of?
There's life and business. And life, obviously, married 17 years and my 3 awesome little boys, finishing Ironman, 20 marathons. I'm an ultra marathoner, ultra runner. Those are the things that are more important that I enjoy about life. And then obviously the business is going extremely well. We're one of the largest political digital companies in the country. We're doing massive races like Herschel Walker, like Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, those kind of people. Life is good, man. I've had a ton of failures. I just attempted my first 100-miler from Key Largo to Key West, and I dropped out at mile 71. The first race I've ever DNF'd, did not finish. So there are failures along the way. But man, coming from the ghetto and Section 8 housing to where I'm at now, life could not possibly be much better. I'm well ahead of where I had dreamed of been.
Any parting thoughts you want to share with the results leaders who are listening to us right now?
Just because shit sucks occasionally doesn't mean it's always going to suck. You see these like memes online of entrepreneur life where it's like diving off a cliff and then you're on top of a mountain. And that's exactly what it's like. And in my book, I closed with, that song that says, when you're going through hell, just keep going. Whether it's a downtime during your business, whether you're on mile 50 of an ultra marathon or whether you're being canceled by the mob, a lot of time shit just sucks. And if you just keep going, typically you can get to the other side.
Is it the Marines who say the suck, get through the suck?
Embrace the suck. It's that Navy SEAL thing. Embrace the suck, man. In fact, when I ran when I ran that 100 miler, I wrote embrace the suck on my forearm.
I know our listeners are going to want more. Where can they get you? Where can they get the book? Where can they get more information, brother?
Yeah, WesleyDonehue.com or underfirebook.com. We also have an awesome weekly podcast, Under Fire, on iTunes, Spotify, all the places.
Excellent. We will share notes and links in the show notes, back to the book, back to the website, back to connect to the podcast. Thank you, Mr. Donehue, for hanging out with us. And thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. That is a wrap for another edition of resultsleader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to resultsleader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.